A Fort Worth attorney who walked to Austin to raise awareness around police reform is heading home.
It was a really humbling experience because it showed that other people were just as committed as I am to the reform. I wasn't best served holding a petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was more that I could do to bring attention to the matter.
Reed says they are planning a possible second walk to Austin next year, but this time with a group of people.
Along the way, Reed has stopped at
A Fort Worth attorney who walked to Austin to raise awareness around police reform is heading home.
It was a really humbling experience because it showed I wasn't best served holding a petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was more that I could do to bring attention to the matter.
Reed says they are planning a possible second walk to Austin next year, but this time with a group of people.
Along the way, Reed has stopped at local police departments and has received tremendous support from both officers and community members.
We're about to go eat now with Temple Police. You know, they're in support. So yes, there's petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was a lot of people bring attention to the matter. This effort because they realize this stuff is not sustainable. We have to bridge this gap.
Police reform in
Along
Texas.
the way, Reed has stopped at
to let him know that there are a lot of people who are ready to act and support him. He's the governor now. He gets it done now.
I wasn't
we all
best
win.
served holding a petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was more that I could do to bring attention to the matter.
Reed says they are planning a possible second walk to Austin next year, but this time with a group of people.
Along the way, Reed has stopped at local police departments and has received tremendous support from both officers and community members.
We're about to go eat now with Temple Police. You know, they're in support. So yes, there's petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was a lot of people bring attention to the matter. This effort because they realize this stuff is not sustainable. We have to bridge this gap.
Police reform in
Along
Texas.
the way, Reed has stopped at
to let him know that there are a lot of people who are ready to act and support him. He's the governor now. He gets it done now.
I wasn't
we all
best
win.
served holding a petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was more that I could do to bring attention to the matter.
Reed says they are planning a possible second walk to Austin next year, but this time with a group of people.
Along the way, Reed has stopped at local police departments and has received tremendous support from both officers and community members.
We're about to go eat now with Temple Police. You know, they're in support. So yes, there's petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was a lot of people bring attention to the matter. This effort because they realize this stuff is not sustainable. We have to bridge this gap.
Police reform in
Along
Texas.
the way, Reed has stopped at
to let him know that there are a lot of people who are ready to act and support him. He's the governor now. He gets it done now.
I wasn't
we all win.
served holding.
For Attorney Sarah Vargas to come forward and address everybody. Sarah.
Good evening, everybody. Like Leon said, my name is Sarah Vargas, and I'm going to be very brief today. First, I'd like to thank Leon for giving me the opportunity to help him out with this endeavor. I'm a young attorney, so this is something new to me, but I'm very aware of what's going on in the world and how necessary his walk and the need for reform is. So many of you reached out to help and donate your money, your hotel rewards, or even just stop by to give words of encouragement, and those little acts meant so much to this movement. And I say movement because we're not done, we're still moving forward. In light of recent events, since Leon even took his walk, it's become more clear now than ever that reform is necessary without delay. We cannot wait for lawmakers to get back in session. We cannot wait for the next Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, George Floyd. We can't wait anymore. The time is now. So while it seems as if Governor Abbott may be wavering on his commitment to reform, we with Walk for Reform stay committed. Leon's walk was not an end, but a beginning. So I ask that you guys stay tuned in with us and listen to what Leon has in store for you guys coming next. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, before I go too deep, I have to thank a lot of people who really stepped up and supported me in their own unique way. First of all, I'd like to thank my family, my two sisters, Christy Terrell, and my older sister Terry Reed, and Christy's daughters, my nieces, my nephews. They all showed unwavering support. Many of you know that in April of this year, we lost the matriarch of our family, my mother, on April the 17th. And there were times along the way when I definitely felt her spirit moving with and through me, because as I've stated before, my mother loved America, but what she loved most about America is what America could be. America hasn't lived up to her potential yet. And until we start to put some of these problems that should have been already handled decades ago away and behind us, the state of Texas nor our country will ever reach its true potential. So I'd like to thank my sisters who started with me at the beginning. And when I walked into Austin, my sisters and my cousin, LaWanda, they were there at the end when I arrived in Austin. So I want to thank them for all of their support. I want to thank my aunt. I want to thank my pastor. We started here at Como First Missionary Baptist on the west side of Fort Worth. My pastor prayed for me, and that small group of people who were there will attest to the fact that this was something that I was not looking forward to doing. It was not something that I wanted to do. It was something that I was willing to do. And that morning, before taking my first steps towards downtown to meet those who had gathered to walk the first segment with me, we prayed here, we all cried here, because we did not know what the 200-mile stretch between Fort Worth and Austin held in store for me. But we believed that God would deliver me through. And God is a faithful God, and He did just what He said He would do. If He put it in me to do it, He put it in me to get through it. And that's what He did. And I want to thank my pastor, the First Lady, for praying for me, praying with me, for blessing this endeavor. I'd like to thank all of the members here at Como First Missionary Baptist Church for their prayers, their concerns, their contributions. Thank you so much for just every bit of encouragement that you sent my way. I'd also like to thank Coach Ed at Run On by Jack Rabbit in Montgomery Plaza here in Fort Worth. When I first went in there just trying to figure out what I needed, what shoes I needed, what I could do, and he asked me what it was for as part of his vetting to see what shoe was right for me. And when I told him, he immediately told me to take my Bible with me. And I heard that in my spirit, and I thank him. And he equipped me with the best things that he felt I would need to get me there. And I'm thankful and grateful for every pair of shoes that he pointed out to me, all of the clothing, the advice that he gave, which was tremendous and really blessed me. I also like to thank Jerry Cedillo, who sponsored another pair of shoes for me, a secondary pair, so that I could have a rotation of shoes. And then another classmate of mine from TCU, Kane Williams, who was a tremendous cross-country runner. when we were at TCU. He now works for Hoka Shoes, and by the time I'd walked to Waco, I had a fresh pair of Hoka shoes waiting for me there that he sponsors. So I'd like to thank those people for helping me with the gear and with the equipment that I needed to get there. I'd also like to thank Ms. Clara Kirby, Como resident and the director of the Como Community Center. Every time I looked up in Fort Worth on the day that we started off, Ms. Clara was parked at a corner along the route motivating us on. Then we turn another corner and she'd be right there. Into the night, Ms. Clara was there. She finished that night off with what we call the Magnificent Seven. The people who walked the whole way that first day. There were 7 of us who ended up at the hotel that night, and Miss Clara was there with us. And then when I got into Austin, I looked up and there was Miss Clara in her car parked along the way. And as we walked by her, we continued walking down the road, and there she'd be again. And then there she'd be again, and she even stopped as we took a brief rest in a Whataburger, and she blessed my soul by being there and showing me the true spirit of Lake Como, Texas. So I thank you, Ms. Clara, and Como knows what you and your family has done for so many of us throughout the decades past in Como. I'd like to thank the inner circle of attorneys, friends, and advisors who form the primary backbone of Walk for Reform. Again, this is not a single person effort. It's not a single person endeavor. There were a lot of us who spent time and effort into getting that first step towards Austin accomplished. And I want to thank you all, and I'll thank you all privately and individually, but without you and without your advice, this effort certainly couldn't have gotten off the ground and wouldn't have been as much of a success as it has been. But again, we're not done yet. I'd like to thank a very special person, my friend Wesley Daniels, who was in the Marine Corps with me back in the days when I was young and weighed a whole lot less. Daniels and I were so close when we were in the Marine Corps that if one of us got in trouble, they'd send for the other one and both of us had to do stuff. That's how close we were. It was assumed that the other one had something to do with anything or any kind of mischief that may have come up. And there's plenty of mischief in the Marine Corps to go around. But all of these years later, Daniels is still one of my best friends, and it came from the adversity, the good times, the bad times, the difficult times that he and I have had as friends. But every time the phone rings, it's like we've never skipped a beat. And when I called him and I told him I needed a safety driver to go with me and follow behind me for 200 miles, he didn't question anything. He said, I'll be there, and he was. So this effort, in large part, I owe to him for following behind me at 3 miles an hour for over 8 days and 200 miles. Dan, I thank you, I love you, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. To the camera crew from C3 Films, Andy and his brother Alden, they were phenomenal, professional, provided a lot of the footage that you saw on television broadcast. They were with us the entire time. Drone coverage, check them out. They have, if you want to see more pictures from the walk, they have a Facebook page at C3 Films. You'll see that, that these guys just do top quality work. They documented it because you never know when history is going to be made. And so I wanted to personally thank Andy and Alden and their families for letting us have them for the 8+ days that we were on the road. To all the people who took the time to drive 25, 50, 100 miles to Waco, and even those who drove further than Waco from Fort Worth, over 100 miles to come and walk with me. You each motivated me in your own unique and special way. There were times when I was dog tired and I thought that I couldn't go another step, and then I would look up and I would see somebody pop out of their car. And I would tell myself that if this person drove all this way to walk with me, I'm going to continue pushing forward. And then the conversations that would ensue would help the time pass so frequently or so fast that next thing you know, we'd walked another 3 or 4 or 6 miles together, and I never knew the difference. My body just kicked into gear, and I was rewarded and blessed by all of those people. One of my friends from law school, another fellow Marine, George McElroy, drove over 30 miles to start up with me at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk from Alvarado to Grandview, and you know, we were about running from dogs and all kinds of things. But I thank all of those people. You just gave me the energy to push further forward. To all of my fraternity brothers of Omega Psi Phi, I thank each of you for all of your prayers and your motivating texts, your motivating calls that allowed me to persevere through this challenge. I look forward to yoking up again with you, hopefully in the near future. To the RV Rentals USA out of Cleveland, really kind and polite people, and they sat down when they found out what we were doing, and they shared their appreciation, their love, and their thoughts. And I was appreciative for those. I met a police officer down there who I intend to reach back out to. He gave me real good information on some programs that we're going to include in bringing forth to the public because they're good programs. And that just further let me know that people all over the map, even law enforcement, yes, law enforcement, want reform as well. I thank those who, when they saw the small RV we rented, who offered to fill it up when it was time to gas up at a gas station. While I was rehydrating, they were rehydrating the RV, and that was their way of blessing and contributing to the effort that we were doing. I want to thank particularly Coach Forrester. While I was walking in the Temple area, again, someone pulled up, they were following that dot, found me, and he walked with me not only once, but twice. And the second time that he caught up with me while I was on the road, he brought me a walking pole and gifted it to me. And this wasn't any walking pole. It wasn't one that he went out and bought. It was a walking pole that his father had given to him. And so I'm really appreciative to you, Coach Forrester. Thank you for our conversation. Thank you for your dedication to the children in the Pflugerville area. We didn't get to spend as much time as we probably wanted to on the road. I know you had obligations, but I will be back, and I will definitely look you up the next time I'm in the greater Austin area. When I got to Austin, I want to thank the people who greeted me and welcomed me into Austin. They walked with me a long way and on more than one occasion. You know, Austin, you showed up, and Austin, you showed out. And so to LaDonna, Sherilyn, Jennifer, thank each of you, and blessings to you and your families. I even had an opportunity to go to Bible study while I was down there. You know, thank you for extending that offer to me, Jennifer. I was blessed, and again, if I'm ever in Austin on a Sunday morning, I know exactly where I'm going. I'd also like to thank LaDonna, Kevin Lee, Marilyn Collins, Damon Collins, Marie, and some other people who donated hotel points, so that while I was waiting, hopefully, to see the governor, they helped defer the cost by coming out of their own hotel rewards points and getting rooms for me for different periods of time. And whether it was one day or up to a week, I appreciate each and every one of you, because you stepped up to have a small role in this big effort. There's a lady and her husband right now, I'm forgetting her name. I will recognize you later personally, but she offered her hotel points up and got me a room as well. I called her up and thanked her personally as well, and so I'm sorry I forgot your name right now, but I do want to acknowledge what you did. And I want to also thank Chief Devlin of the Hewitt Police Department and the new Temple Chief, Chief Reynolds. Both of those men who are obviously law enforcement, they're the chiefs of police in their respective towns, took their time to look me up and sat down and talked with me. And I loved the opportunity to sit down with each one of those men, because when I sat with each of them, each time it was two people trying to figure it out. Two people who approached the situation with humility. I didn't bring anything that was, I'm not a guru. I'm just a person with a lot of questions, and questions have led me to potential answers, and questions have led me to more questions. And they have questions, and they have ideas, and they were sharing their ideas with me. I want to thank, as while I'm on that train of thought, the officer from the Irving Police Department, a 30-year veteran, who reached out to me and told me about programs that Irving is doing. And he's really excited about those. And he said, Leon, if you get to the governor, let him know about our programs. They're working, and other departments need to know about them. So there were people rooting for me to get there. There were people willing to share their information with me and share their knowledge with me about their views on what can be done to better police and community relations. And I'm grateful to them for that. Again, they sought me out, and I appreciate that. And we all approached it with humility, because no one knows the exact answer or whether there's a magic bullet. But we all were willing to sit down and talk to each other and ask each other and bring up hard topics in hard situations. But we knew in the end that we were trying to achieve something better, and I look forward to staying in touch with those two gentlemen, the two chiefs of police. I'm going to meet the officer in Irving, and I hope that we'll be working on a continued effort to better police and community relations, and I hope we'll be doing that together. To my fellow members of the bar who supported me, who've reached out and shown their support to me, who supported financially, who supported with their prayers, who came and walked with me. I thank each and every one of you. Our positions as attorneys comes with a higher calling, a higher responsibility. Our bar cards aren't confined to courthouse walls. Do what you have to do to make our country a better place. It's right there in the rules of ethics, right in the preamble. Our duty as attorneys is not confined to the four walls of a courthouse. Get out, get involved, and be vocal and be present. Residents of this state and this country are depending on us, and it's our oaths that hold us to this calling. We each took an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, and if you're a Texas attorney, to protect the Constitution of the state of Texas. Get busy. You can do it. Lastly, I'd like to thank everyone for your thoughts, for your prayers, for all of the messages, for the calls and the emails to the governor's office, for your words of encouragement, for your financial support, for all of the retweets, for all of the shares. Thank you all for that. I really and truly am humbled by the amount of support, but I'm not surprised, because this is an issue that is not going away. When I arrived in Austin, Texas, over 35 days ago, During that 30-day period, or that 35-day period, while I waited Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 outside of the Capitol, each day brought its own views and trepidations. And over that time period, there were no less than 4 incidents that caught national attention. One was a shooting in Lafayette, Louisiana. Another shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And then there was the failed, thank God, assassination attempt of 2 peace officers in Compton, California. And then there was a situation that arose in Rochester, wherein a citizen had been killed in police custody and the citizens there didn't know. And now we have the result of Breonna Taylor. If you look across our country, East Coast to West Coast, North to South, it is evident and painfully obvious that there is a significant division, a breach between the police and the communities in which they serve. It's our goal as Walk for Reform to better the relations between police and the communities in which they serve. Police officers don't want to be looked at as a necessary evil. They want to be looked at as necessary. And so that's going to take work. And any time and in any situation, whether it's business or interpersonal, if there's a breach of trust, it has to be acknowledged. And then there has to be some level of atonement for that breach. And then the person whose trust was breached can then take the opportunity to reopen themselves and grow. And often it takes time. You know that. And so what we're doing is not going to be an overnight success. This is more so a battle of principalities and people's hearts, and learning to recognize that we're all human, and learning to love, which is the greatest gift that God gave us to fight and ward off evil. Love conquers all. We're challenging everyone to start to love one another. And if you're going to be a peace officer in a community, you should have love in your heart when you drive into that community. You should be and want to be a part of that community. You should know and want to know the names of people in that community. And they should want to know who you are. We have to learn to work and coexist together. As populations continue to grow, we're going to need more police. But Texans, and indeed anyone in these United States, deserve the best trained, best quality, high character individuals possible to put on that badge and strap on a weapon. And not everybody is cut out to be a police officer. Our governor has recognized that there are bad cops on the force. Our governor has recognized that we need better training. But at this point, little has been done. So in the near future, Walk for Reform is going to be getting up a website. Our website will allow us to put out data and put out statistics and a place to house documents that you would want to need, because we're better at showing than we are at telling. We don't want to tell you what data says. We want to show you what data says. And then hopefully what you read may make you start questioning things. Hopefully what you read and see may give you an opportunity to look at your neighbor and your neighbor's situation a little bit differently, to start viewing that neighbor as a human being. I've said it before. If we want a strong country, our country will be built on strong states. Strong states will be built on strong cities. Strong cities are built on strong communities. Strong communities are built on strong neighborhoods. And if you want to have a strong neighborhood, then the first thing you have to do is be neighborly. And so that is one of our challenges to you tonight. Wherever you are, be it Texas or any other state, be neighborly. Learn who your neighbor is. Learn to love the differences that they bring to the table. Learn to be a better community. That is our challenge. In the near future, we're also going to be reaching out to the people who have shown interest on forming and walking from various cities across the state of Texas. And we're going to maybe even venture and look a little bit further into seeing if we can come up with a national day that people across the country can walk to their city and state capital and state leaders to demand reform. And we're also looking at a Facebook challenge, if you will, that we're going to launch. But it's going to be a little bit different from other challenges that you've seen. At the end of this challenge, you're going to be requested to contact your local leader and do something, to get involved in the process. And one of those things that you can do that's coming up real fast is, one, educate yourself on the upcoming election, and then vote. And then don't just stop voting on national issues, vote in your local elections. If you see a sign up in your community that says vote today, turn your car around, turn yourself around, go in and say, what are we voting on? And make sure you count. Because when you don't vote, you literally don't count. Whether you're a billionaire or you're flat broke, you get one vote. Whether you're the landlord or you're the tenant, you get one vote. Whether you have a PhD or a GED, you get one vote. Your vote is your equalizer. And that's why there's such a fight over protecting people's right to vote and to make sure that people who should not vote do not vote. But thank you again. I'm about to wrap up. I ask everyone, continue to check back in with us. Continue to tell people to subscribe. Continue to send ideas that you have and articles that you have. And know that we're still working. This is a beginning. This is not an end. So the question to you is, how far are you willing to walk for unity? How far are you willing to walk for love? How far are you willing to walk for the future? How far are you willing to walk for me? How far are you willing to walk for reform? God bless you, and thank you all. Good night.
A Fort Worth attorney who walked to Austin to raise awareness around police reform is heading home.
It was a really humbling experience because it showed that other people were just as committed as I am to the reform. I wasn't best served holding a petition sign and walking around City Hall. I felt that there was more that I could do to bring attention to the matter.
Reed says they are planning a possible second walk to Austin next year, but this time with a group of people.
Along the way, Reed has stopped at local police departments and has received tremendous support from both officers and community members.
We're about to go eat now with Temple Police. You know, they're in support. So yes, there's been support, and I want the governor to know that a lot of people are supporting this effort because they realize this stuff is not sustainable. We have to bridge this gap.
Police reform.
Police reform.
Police reform in Texas.
Enough time to let him know that there are a lot of people who are ready to act and support him. He's the governor now. He gets it done now. We all win.